Hey everyone, welcome to the Growin Up Podcast. We're your hosts. My name's Nevaeh.
And my name's Amber.
And if you haven't listened to us before, we talk about anything and everything about growing up. So if that sounds like something you're interested, join us for the conversation.
Nice.
Thank you. That was my phone voice. Could you tell?
Yeah. I don't know why you don't just use your normal voice.
I know. I don't know why. I just feel like it's like I'm answering the phone, you know? Hello? Hi, this is Nevaeh. No, this is Patrick.
Oh my God. Well, happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. I know we really need to get that in action.
Yeah.
I think it'll add a lot to the potty.
Yeah. So if you guys are catching on by now, we do record every podcast on Thursdays. Well, at least that's the goal. And then we try to release on Tuesdays. I think we can make that official now because that's kind of what we've been trying to stick with.
Yeah. We had a moment. We had a moment, but I think we're back in running.
Yeah, of course, life happens, so we got to account for that. But for the most part, we try to stay consistent with recording Thursday, out by Tuesday.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, if this is your first time listening, me and Nevaeh like to do this thing where at the beginning of every podcast, we share a lesson that we learned or just something that we learned over the past week. So who would like to go first?
Go ahead, Amber.
All right. Okay. Well, to be honest, I'm kind of struggling with this week's learning lesson, but as some of you guys may know, or if you listened to the last episode, I've been moving. So obviously I bought a couple, pieces of furniture, some of those being from IKEA. And some of them were a pain in the ass, let me tell you. Me and my girlfriend almost broke up like 5 times over the past week because of these furnitures. Yeah. No, but this one behind me specifically, what I learned is that you can actually adjust some hinges on furniture. So like when we originally put it together, I was a little upset because like the door had a big old gap in between the two doors.
Yeah.
So I was like, about to give up again. And then I didn't. My girlfriend looked at the very, very last page and she was like, what does this mean? And it had like little screws on the hinges. Mm-hmm. And you can like adjust the screws so that the doors can come out or go back in or up or down and left and right. So you can actually get them to close the gap and align exactly how you want it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And apparently it's like that for a lot of furniture. So I think like some cabinets and stuff, whenever they have those hinges, you can adjust it so that the doors can actually fit the way you want it. So you can adjust it.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's random as fuck, but I feel like that's very useful though, because honestly, like sometimes I think now that I think about it, one of my hinges is like that on my my cabinet that kind of looks like that. So
yeah,
maybe I should have just flipped to the next page.
Yeah, there's like 3 different screws, so you can adjust, like you just turn it whatever way you want it to move.
Got it. That's cool.
So that quick and easy this week. Go ahead, Nevaeh, take it away. What did you learn?
I am also struggling on this fine Thursday afternoon. So I'm just gonna pull one out of midair. Oh, there we go. Caught it. I'm just kidding.
You're stupid.
If you're not listening or watching on YouTube, you just missed out on the funniest thing ever. But something I learned about throughout this week, I want to say this is also going to be random as fuck, but how I like my coffee. Because I'm getting into adult world where like somebody's like, oh, Nevaeh, like I'm gonna go get coffee for anybody. For everybody, do you want coffee? And they're like, okay, how many creams and sugars do you want? Like I've never been asked that question before.
Oh my God.
So then, I'm also, I am a big fan of like hot coffee, which is kind of like old lady of me, but like, I don't know, like I would prefer a hot coffee, drip coffee over a like vanilla latte. And I think I've also come to realize that that's a big thing that I like. But my thing is 3 sugars, 4 creams.
Goddamn.
Yeah. In a large coffee cup.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. When I go to a Dunkin', I say 2 cream, 2 sugar. That's just my thing.
See, and that's where I also like never really I've never really had to do that, but now that I'm a hot coffee lover, like that happened to me at McDonald's that one time, and I fucked up, and my coffee was not good because I didn't have enough freaking cream.
Yeah.
So, I know that's random as fuck, but
no, that's something you got to learn if you want your coffee to be good.
No, it was just really weird though because like that kind of came up, and like somebody's like, "Oh, Nevaeh, how do you want your coffee?" And I'm like, I don't know. I've never been asked how I want my coffee,
Yeah.
But like maybe it's just because I'm growing up, Obviously, as a student, you're not being asked, or you say like iced vanilla latte. That was my phase, but now I'm like in my hot coffee phase.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm still a iced vanilla latte with oat milk type of gal. So, but that's if like someone's like, I'm going here. What kind of coffee do you want? But if it's like someone just going to, like a cafe or something. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So I know, random again, but I'll come back with a better one next week.
Drop your guys' learning down in the comments to make up for our lack thereof.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, for this week's episode, we've kind of, I guess, hit a point in the podcast where we're getting a little bit of traction. Don't be judging us because I know that we're still under the 100 views, but when you realistically think of it, like these episodes are an hour long, right? So
yeah,
even just considering some of these videos getting 80 views means that they're, that's, I mean, you guys probably don't all watch it all the way through, but it's still some good time that we're stacking up here. So
yeah.
So we kind of just hit this point where we're like, we're getting things going and we can feel the motion starting to pick up. So we thought we would kind of discuss what it's been like thus far creating the podcast and also share our secrets of some past entrepreneur and content creation attempts that we had, I wouldn't say failed at, but
trial and error.
Yeah. So I guess that's kind of today's topic.
Maybe a little bit maybe even like a little bit more insight too, because I feel like one day we just kind of popped out of the blue, basically telling like exactly why we wanted to do the podcast, but I don't think we've really touched on like what even before that looked like and the length of it all, and just how long it really took us to like get it off of the ground and to even get to our first introduction video, which I think is always interesting. Hey, I feel like there's some good stuff in there. I like introduce myself. I tell you how dogs.
Yeah. No, we've come a long way, even though we've only been at this. Technically, we've been at it for a little over a year, but we kind of took like a hiatus there for a bit. So
yeah. I also think just personality wise too. Like I think we've gotten a lot more comfortable talking with you all that listen to us. So that's always fun.
Yeah. So I guess, like you said, kind of backtracking. I feel like me and Nevaeh have always wanted to create content.
Yeah.
Separately and together. I think we've both had our attempts. I talk about mine a little bit in the past when I was, for those of you who don't know, hidden story, maybe not so hidden. When I was about 13 years old, I started creating music. It all started one day when I bought a DJ turntable, and I was like so excited because I was going to teach myself how to DJ. I set it all up and I had like my little setup as I always had. And Nevaeh comes running in my room wanting to look at all my shit that was on the table. I had like a keyboard, guitar, and now I had these new turntables. And she walked away and her foot got stuck in the cord.
Your chair was on the cord.
She pulled the cord of the turntable and it fell on the ground and it broke. And within like 24 hours of me having it. So she crushed my little dream. I ended up returning it, saying it came broken. And I decided to just get a microphone instead. So that's when I bought my first microphone. I've always been into music. Yeah, she crushed my dream, my DJ dream. I
That's
would have been
okay, Amber. I
DJ
saved you from
AJ.
years of carpal tunnel. Okay,
Oh
have
my
you
God.
have you watched those DJing videos? They're like, so I saved you from years of carpal tunnel.
Oh my God. Yeah. So that's how my DJ career ended shortly. And I went into music. So I got a microphone and I got like some free recording software on my laptop and I started making music. So I was making music by myself and I would get like free beats off of YouTube and I would just copy them probably illegally, but I was making some good music and posting videos. I was even typing out the lyrics to my videos.
I always wonder how you did that.
I typed that shit out. So for those of you who like my
Dang.
music, you're
I
welcome.
did see a couple typos in there a couple times.
Yeah, same. Nevaeh would actually record some of my music videos for me. You remember that?
Me and my friend, we also made a music video for you, one of your songs too.
Yeah. So that was cool. Like that was my first, I would say, real attempt at creating content, posting on YouTube. And some of my YouTube videos, slight flex, but some of them got like over 10,000 views. And if you realistically think of that as well, like that was pretty good for its time. And for me only being 13 and buying this microphone because my DJ career ended.
Look I pointed you in the right direction. But also don't let Amber fool y'all. She was out there doing concerts, signing autographs. Like don't
CDs.
let her kind of think it was some little, hobby. Now we were on the road.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you guys want to check out my SoundCloud, I do still have some of my music on there.
I listen to it weekly.
Oh my gosh.
The views are up there because me.
Yeah, so that was kind of like my first really attempt at content creation. Of course, me and Nevaeh like also made songs on our own time for fun. Like we used to do shit like that. And we used to make videos. We used to try to make movies. They never really went anywhere, but it was that muscle that we were trying to flex.
Entertainment.
Yeah, we were trying to be entertained. We would make a song for our mom every birthday.
Yeah. There also is a video of us out there that often gets brought up from like years out from when it was created. So
yeah, we would make, I guess that's content creation, huh?
Yeah, so like now like people like still laugh at it, and even us, like there's like that one point in the year where we just like watch the whole thing and we like crack up about it, and it's just funny, and I think that's kind of what we hope to get from putting that kind of energy into the podcast. And I honestly I think it's been good so far. I think it kind of takes the conversations that we do have to another level, which is always fun.
Yeah. So that's kind of my content story. As I went off into college, it kind of stopped, and I stopped creating content. But I feel like that's when the mic got passed to Nevaeh here, so she can tell you about her Musically days.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Amber, don't hype me up too much. But yes, I was originally on the Musically app, so I've always like loved doing those. And like, I mean, obviously they never went as far as 10,000 views or whatever, but is that what you said? 10,000 views?
Yeah.
Went nowhere near 10,000 views. But let me tell you about nowadays. I'm just kidding. Ew, why do I sound like Astrophy? No, so yes, I did Musically. I think also like something about me and Amber is we were always very like artistic, and like, not to hype us up or toot our horn or anything, but we were always just like really into art. And Amber would bring home like random ass things from art class, and I would also bring home random things. We had like a little wall art of a wall of art going in our house. I don't know, we were just always like bringing weird stuff home, and our mom still has them out for display.
All right, challenge for the viewers. Ask Nevaeh about her platypus sculpture.
Oh my god!
If you drop that in the comments, we'll show you one of her pieces of art.
No, Amber, it's probably broken now.
Okay, continue on.
But anyways, so I was just like doing that, and even now to this day, like, and during college, like I loved making TikToks, and I was a little ashamed at first because you know what they say, like you're like, oh, you're on TikTok, and it was like kind of cringy during those times. But I do try to make a lot of like short videos on TikTok. So if you guys haven't followed my TikTok, I think like I said in a previous episode, each social media is a different version of Nevaeh. So if you want to get the TikTok version of Nevaeh, definitely go check out my TikTok. But yeah, that's kind of like to the extent. I've also always done like little like media things for school, which is kind of nerdy, but like I did like a summer program called Native Americans Science and Engineering program at U of A, and we created like these little like short stories. And even recently, when I graduated college, I did a like a storytelling kind of, is that what you would call it, like recording?
Yeah.
But basically, like I partnered, or like I did this little project that was going on with I think they're called them like APM, and they basically taught like helped me talk about my journey through school, and we did a lot of like sound things going on. So it was really cool to kind of use that outlet. So again, yeah, like I've always tried to use my voice in different matters. So
Yeah.
that's kind of, I think, why me and Amber conversate so well, is because we like, one, enjoy these conversations, but also I think it's always, I like to interact with people as well. So,
Yeah.
and like kind of let people hear my views, but also like, reach out to others and hear theirs, or like the conversations that come from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think also too with that, we're both naturally good at public speaking in a sense. So like with me, like you said, like I would perform. I didn't mention it myself, but I would go out there, get on stage, and like perform my own music that I created. And that shit is not easy. Let me tell you, the first
Yeah.
time I performed, I actually like could not breathe, and I learned that you have to like control the way you're breathing when you're
Yeah.
performing that long. But
Yeah.
and then like you've done a lot of public speaking, so I think the skill comes naturally to us, or maybe it doesn't, but we've gotten really good at it. Um, yeah, but you also mentioned in school. I forgot to mention that when I was in high school, I used to like to do the media classes, and I made like music videos and commercials. So I think that aspect of the podcast, like me learning the whole production, I guess is what you would call it, like video
Yeah.
production. I've learned that since I was young. Like I've always been into software, audio, video, whatever you can do. I've even done videos for people like as a side hustle, like if somebody needs a video being made. So I guess yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's kind of where the like whole podcast idea came into terms. So like again, reflecting on where this idea kind of came from, and the reasoning why that, or what led us to where we are now, I guess, is
Yeah.
like I think we really realized that these were things that we enjoyed, and I think this was a good outlet for it. And Amber's had a couple of her own attempts too, in different like ideas, and like on a, like from a business idea to just even like production ideas and whatnot,
Yeah.
that she's had on her own. But I feel like something that always came up was our podcast, and but we had a lot of difficulties. Like I was in school, we lived literally thousands of miles away from each other.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff that kind of like hindered like us being like, okay, well, we should do it. But
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was a big part of it, was that we were never, ever since I left the coop, like we were never together. We've always been separated since. So it was really hard for us to do a podcast because we weren't together. But now, because technology has advanced so far, they have these cool tools that we can use, and we're able to actually make this podcast at a pretty decent quality, being across the country from each other. So shout
Yeah.
out to technology for advancing.
Right. The goal is to one day obviously carry this to the point where we are no longer split by a screen, or
Yeah.
a screen.
Yeah.
But I think that was just something that kind of held us back again for like a really long time. Also like Amber said, the like technology portion of it, and fully understanding those capabilities, like things are not cheap. Obviously they have such good service, but those are things that you have to consider when you want to, create something that you're proud of, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where, like, obviously we want to get to a point where we kind of were able to, put quality work out there for people to enjoy. So, yeah.
Yeah. And to add to that, we were both in school, so that also was something that an excuse. I'm just going to call it an excuse for why
Yeah,
we
yeah.
weren't starting or weren't consistent with the podcast last year. But now that we both finish, I feel like us having the time to actually put a lot of effort into the podcast has helped us a lot. But
Mhm.
I want to say, like, for people, don't use that as an excuse, because if you can manage your time a little bit better, you can squeeze in an episode,
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, that's kind of how we got to where we are, when we decided, why we decided at the time we did to start. I am not sure why we randomly posted that day, or
I don't know either. I don't really know, actually. Um I think we were just to the point where we actually, like, talked about it too frequently, cuz, like, obviously we would talk about it, but it would be like once a year, and then went to like twice a year. But then I think we really got to the point where we were like, okay, like, this is a weekly thing we're talking about, trying to get this thing started. And I think it was just us, the matter of fact of, like, us ripping the band-aid off and being like, okay, well, let's get the equipment that we need, and like, how, like, figure out what, like, software do we need, and how can we make these things possible.
yeah,
And then also, like, you want, well, like, aesthetics isn't the, like, whole, like, idea of it, or like the biggest thing that goes into podcasts, but obviously we wanted to have something that was attracting to the eye. It took us a very long time. It took us a very long time also to get our name for the
yeah,
podcast. I don't think we've ever talked about that, but it literally took us some days to months to figure that out, going back and forth, different ideas of, what we think would
yeah,
represent what we want to actually talk about. So that kind of took a long time, because, there's only so much you can fit into a podcast, and so much you can talk about without kind of, stepping out of a bubble.
yeah.
So I think it was just a matter of, like, everything just collided at that moment, and we were
Hmm.
like, that's what it is. Um, yeah.
Yeah. It's also like, one thing that we really did was we scheduled time to plan,
Oh
and
yeah.
like, that was the thing that made us change everything, because last year when we first started the podcast, but we kind of like left you guys on a cliffhanger there for a couple months, it was because we weren't consistent with actually scheduling days, like treating it like a business. So when
Yeah.
we kind of put that mentality on that, okay, we're going to plan on Tuesdays, record and whatever, that's what really helped us get the ball rolling. But it gave us that opportunity to talk about things like that. So kind of deciding what kind of podcast we want to be, which had to do with the name, because we wanted it to all kind of be encapsulated in that name. But also our niche. And I think that's
Yeah.
something that we're still trying to find. Um, because originally we were trying to figure out who the audience of our podcast was. Like, although we would like everyone to listen to us, it was you know, we can't get everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's just so many outlets we could go. So we didn't know, like, which direction we wanted to go originally. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and also, like, trying to figure out the questions that we do ask, and how we want to frame those conversations. And it kind of, we've also talked about this too. I think Amber talked about it, about the your cringe, you got to get over the cringe
The
mountain, or
cringe hump. Yeah, the cringe
scringe.
mountain.
Yeah.
Scringe.
cringe cringe hump. You have to get over that. And I think that also took us a really long time. While we've always, like, had these opportunities, it's just equivalent to just being back on stage, and
Yeah.
letting a little bit of people into your mind, and your
Hmm.
thoughts, and your, those kind of things. So it did take us a while to get to the point where we get comfortable with that as well. But I think so far so good.
Yeah. No, I think that's kind of like, again, I wouldn't say we failed at all our first attempts, and some of them, like, are still going, but I feel like it is very hard to get over that cringe mountain or whatever, because most of the time when you post your content, the first people who would see it are your closest people, right, on your social
Yeah.
media. And that's like the hardest part of it. And I think once getting past that and being that annoying person who has content really helped. So now, like,
Yeah.
I don't feel ashamed to like post on my socials about the podcast, because I'm like, okay, everybody knows now. Let's
Yeah.
move on.
No, I agree. I agree, because that's kind of how I felt too in the beginning of the podcast. However, I do think even now, I think it's getting a little bit better. But the problem is that people that we do know it, and we want more people to know about it. So, once we got to the point where we were like, okay, that's fine. Now we're like, okay, wait, we need some new people to feel cringy around.
Yeah. So please take the time to share this video and our podcast. We would really appreciate it if you guys shared it. We know you guys have some cool friends who would maybe enjoy the conversations that we have as well. So please, little insert here.
Yes. And if you are a true listener, you would know that me and Amber love meeting new people. So bringing those individuals into the conversation would be oh so enjoyable.
Yeah. And I know we say this a million times, but we do plan on having people on the podcast, still figuring out logistics, like we said, one step at a time. So
yeah,
hoping we get there at one point.
But like Amber said, life happens. So
yeah,
we're definitely trying to do what we can do, but that's the goal. We got some good people lined up too, and hopefully that'll kind of expand the conversations that we do have going on, and get into those other conversations that I wouldn't say I'm the most like eligible, certified, knowledgeable person to talk on certain topics. So it would definitely be nice to have individuals who are a little bit more, come from a different background or a different, job or ideas. I think those are always fun conversations.
Yeah, for sure. So, but yeah, I think the biggest thing that was the hardest hump that we had to get over was really like staying consistent. And I think honestly, consistency is the key. Just kind of seeing how it's going. So there are videos where we know aren't going to do that well. And again, we only have like 10 to maybe 100 views on these videos, but the cool thing is you can view analytics on your content. And I think that's kind of what, like us, we're very, analytical. So that's kind of been our mindset and something that we've actually been looking at. But consistency is key, is what I can say so far. I'm still learning to hack the YouTube algorithm, but we'll get there one day.
You know what's funny? The other day I stumbled across a like freshly posted TikTok video, and just talking to the point that you made about like consistency is key. This girl, I like seen a new video, clicked on her page just to like, I don't know, see who this girl was, I guess. Yeah. And I looked, and this girl dumped like a bunch of videos. She dumped like 10 videos at one time. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, that's a really interesting tactic. Like, I'm sure you draft them and then, put them out all in one time, or a lot of times they delay their post just because they have to edit it and then all that good stuff, but like they just literally dump them out in like bulk, which I was like, wow, that's really interesting, because if you haven't dug into like the world of like how like social media works and like the whole business part of it, it's so interesting. Like it really is like a legit world.
Yeah.
Which I like, obviously, like I feel like common sense, but like you look at it and then you realize like, oh, there's a skill to it,
Yeah, no, for sure. Because I've been one of those first people on new YouTubers videos sometimes. So like it'll just show up in my feed and like I click on it and I see it only has like 23 views or something like that. And then next thing you know, they're blowing up. I'm like, Like
Yeah.
how? How?
How?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No,
yeah, there's
that's a
definitely an
moment.
art. There's an
That's a
art
moment.
to it. And the thing for those of you who actually want to like maybe do content creation or start a YouTube or anything like that, like there are so many people who put out videos who already like have done this and know all the tactics. And we've watched a few of those videos,
Mhm.
but before we starting really. Um so like there is like we've even debated on which day to post. We've tried, Tuesdays, Fridays, Saturdays.
Yeah.
And those things make a difference. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah. The time of the day that you post things
Yeah.
and the even like I feel like down to like the lighting, how things look, like again,
Yeah.
while that's not like the biggest thing, sometimes those are the big things. Something that's in what is it called? Enticing. Is that what
Mhm.
it's called? Yeah. Um to an individual, like again, like I said a couple episodes ago, 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds to make up somebody's mind.
Yeah.
Which is also a thing that I feel like while this we've moved past the learning topic, that is something that I'm learning too, is like the whole okay, I wouldn't consider myself a very business minded, hustling kind of gal. Maybe I am, but just not like in the typical like mindset, I guess. Maybe in a very like nerdy mindset.
Yeah.
That's Amber. She very much is the hustler of the show here. But like I didn't really that like I don't have that mindset, so it's very hard for me to like actually like look into like that meaningful approach of certain things. And a lot of the times like I will try to do that upon like myself as an individual, but like when you're trying to do something that you do that's not necessarily like directly yourself, it's very hard, like I said, I do recruitment for a research study, so like being able to have like these conversations and choosing the right words, these 30 seconds to like be
Mhm.
able to make an impression. And then same thing with like the podcast and like the creations of like our social media posts, or like what the words that we choose, like those kind of things to like really draw
Yeah.
somebody into a conversation. And even like just writing papers, like they always say like the first part of your sent or like your paragraph is going to be what draws people in to read your paper. So like I feel like that's all kind of come back more recently now than ever, which is really interesting because I didn't. I guess it's something that I'm learning about myself.
Mhm.
So that I think at least as far as like the podcast and like lessons that I've learned is definitely that for sure.
Yeah. I think I'm just gonna go off lessons learned.
Thank
I
you.
think the thing that I learned is that you just need to do it. I think we all have this blocker in our own mind telling us like, oh, you need to get a really good mic. Oh, you need to get, a really good software and stuff like that. But the reality of it is that you can just get by with minimal stuff until you work your way up. The goal is just to get started.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of my past like attempts at things like Navi kind of mentioned it a little, but like I've always wanted to create a clothing company. I've always wanted to create like my own business and things like that. But obviously I don't have any of those.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that stopped me every time is that I just didn't do it. And
Yeah.
if I would have been as committed as I am to like this podcast like this, like maybe I would have eventually got there, but I have to get out of that mentality that like everything is an instant gratification. Like it's a slow growth to it. And I think that's something that I struggle with grasping a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just to send it.
Yeah.
No, and like even tying back, I was watching a YouTube video and this guy was talking about his friend who like he's a YouTuber himself, and he like showed his friend, he's like, this is all you need is like an iPhone and a personality in front of the camera. And I was like, you know what, that's true, because like, and like I was mentioning in the beginning, us trying to find our niche in the way like allowing us to show more of our personality and climb over cringe hump or cringe mountain or
Yeah.
whatever, and like being able to like show what we see in each other through the camera for you all. And I think that goes a lot for any kind of like portion
Yeah.
of social media or whatever kind of like how you want to frame yourself and, you know, different, tell your story or whatever. It really depends on like your ability to like show your personality. And, you
Yeah.
know, you see those people that are literally trending on TikTok or Reels or even just social, like Instagram itself, like that has such a like interesting personality. And I only say that because like, you know, it can go both ways. So
Yeah.
like
Shitty.
yeah, exactly. Like you literally just depending on like your personality, it does like it's really
Yeah.
has to do with the person behind the camera and your ability to like kind of make a image for yourself or whatever
Exactly.
you want to, how you want to frame yourself or put yourself out there, which obviously can be very scary. And I think again that's why we kind of held off on the podcast for so long, or like
Yes.
restricted ourselves a little bit. It's
Yeah.
because we were like, ooh, like, do we really want to like let people into,
Put
because it is
ourselves
like,
out there.
yeah, it is a little bit of a, you know, when they talk about like you show their entire life on camera and stuff like that, obviously that I feel like that's a stretch, but you know, there
Yeah.
is a portion where there's a lot more information that we don't necessarily like directly put out there, but you know, maybe there isn't something wrong with that at all. You know, maybe it was just
Mm-hmm.
fear of, you know, being judged.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like you can tell if you watch our very first like 3 videos, you can tell how much of a like difference in how we were censoring ourselves, I guess you can say. Like
Yeah.
we had to have the discussion if we were going to allow ourselves to cuss on a podcast.
Yeah.
And that's because I think it is that like the fear of being judged. And like I want to be real with you guys and I want to be authentic who I am on camera and who I am off. Like I don't want to be 2 different people. So we kind of came to the agreement, you know, like just be yourself. And although
Yeah.
like you know, we're growing up. Like we have our phases of cussing and we fail and we drink and you know, like we
We
stop and
partay.
yeah, like we've gone through it all as well. But you know, the ultimate thing is that we're growing up and we're learning through the process and um, you know, I
Sharing with
guess it
you all those things too, because I
yeah,
feel like that was kind of our goal, was to show you know, things that we've learned or things that, you know, have helped us grow. And ultimately that only comes across if we're able to tell you guys those things and share those things and have like, you know, a joke or two about it, because, you know, we always solve problems with laughter.
yeah.
I'm just kidding. Don't
Yes.
take that. No, don't take that. Take that with a grain of salt. But it's definitely been a journey so far with the podcast. Obviously, we don't see it like ending anytime soon. Obviously, we want it to flourish and grow with us and be something that is in for the long term.
Mhm.
Obviously, we want to make some new developments, and even with our logo, that was kind of a fun, interesting turning point too, because obviously, branding is a thing, which we learned a lot about as well. What does good, what looks good, you know, how can we stand out,
Yeah.
what like represents us, all of those things. So, we hope to kind of take y'all along for the journey, and hopefully we can talk a little bit more, obviously give a little bit more updates as time goes on. Hopefully when we're, you know, being interviewed by somebody important.
Yeah. Um yeah, you guys should have seen our first rebranding logo. It was completely different than what we chose now, but yeah,
Maybe
learning a lot of
1,000 likes and we'll drop the unreleased
the unreleased logo.
unreleased
Uh
logo.
yeah, so I mean, yeah, a lot of it is brand identity, learning who we want to brand ourselves as together and separately and yeah. And again, I know we're talking like we have thousands of views on this podcast, but like we're getting there.
We promise you we're gonna get there. No, and also like I feel like that's a big thing too, is like the mentality portion of it, because like if you allow yourself to like hinder on the like the facts when like you don't see progression, and like, you know, we were stuck at, I can't even remember, there was like a number we were stuck at for a bit, obviously during our hiatus, but
Mhm.
you know, we could have stopped at that point and just like let this be it. But I think also having to have that mentality that, you know, we can do better. It'll be better. You know, we're putting into work. It's going to pay off. Like still having that mentality. I feel like a lot has to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we're trying, but, you know, again, Amber said the analytics help a lot. You know, there's that reassurance there, but, you know, sometimes you just got to hype yourself up a little bit, and we're mentally doing that.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of, yeah. And I think it's a lot of dedication. It's funny because Nevaeh has a friend who always asks her to do things on Thursday. It just so happens. And she always kind of says, oh, we got to record the podcast. And it's like treating your creation like a business and like it's your job. Like don't hit burnout, but that you're manifesting it, you know, like you're nurturing this thing that you want to grow. And I think that having that mentality toward it is really good because it'll get you there.
Sorry, your video cut out.
Damn it. Where did it stop?
You literally at the beginning once you started talking.
Thanks. Thanks, Nom.
Oh, I didn't know.
Taking that out.
I didn't even know if it was me or you.
It was me.
Yeah. Yeah, the dedication.
This is a horrible video right now.
This is a horrible video. But I feel like it's also an important video though, because I feel like we have put a lot of time into it.
True.
You know.
Okay. We're just going to stop here and let you guys know that this is one of those videos that we feel, you know, that we didn't prepare so much for. And sometimes, you know, we record a video and we're like, yeah, that's not a good video. But we still put it out there. And I think that's part of the learning process is as kind of like what you were saying there. It's a good to show that side of it because not everything is perfect. And there are times where we are very upset, I guess, with the quality of what we have for an episode, but we still post it. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was talking to Amber because I was listening to the Call Her Daddy podcast yesterday. I was listening to it yesterday, Nevaeh, come on. And I was telling Amber, I was like, damn, they're set up nice. Like, you know, and like the whole cars and like that whole idea of like that kind of podcast. And I think it's always just funny because I was like, dang, that's a goal. But, you know, we'll get there one day. We'll have like this nice little background that says Growin Up Podcast, and we're manifesting it for us, and y'all sprinkle some manifestation our way as well.
Yeah, and I think just practice makes perfect. Like Nevaeh said too, we don't plan on being separated like this forever. You know, we would like to eventually get together with some guests and have a setup, like she said, and
we're gonna be like all old souls. We're gonna be all grandmas sitting there. Hey guys, Growin Up Podcast.
But you know, it's good that we're learning these things now. Like we're learning the things that we don't like and how to be better at it before like we have a setup. Like, can you imagine if we had a setup and then we go in and we're like, oh, I hate this episode. Like,
all old.
All that for nothing. Okay.
Your lighting's a little bad.
Oh my God.
I can't. No, yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal is that, you know, we're going to take these things that we learned and we're going to implement them into the podcast. The podcast.
Yeah. So why do we keep going? Like what keeps you going? What keeps you motivated with the podcast?
I think the goal for me personally is like I want to help people. I feel like I didn't share much about my educational journey, my journey in general, as much as I would have wanted to, which that was my fault. And I recognize that was like my problem. And it had a lot to do with the fact that like I didn't know how much of myself I wanted to be out there. But I do think that I had a lot of opportunities and moments that I would have like to have shared with people, which I wasn't able to because I didn't do anything about it. And I think I just always wanted to have like that connection with other people who might kind of find themselves in a similar boat, or, you know, kind of feel the same emotions or things, or learning the same things that I'm learning as well. And, you know, find that validation within each other. And I feel like that could be the potential for the podcast. And so that's kind of what keeps me going, is the fact that, like, you know, finding those people that resonate with me, but I can also resonate with them. And, you know, that feeling of like not quote unquote being like alone, but finding, you know, just finding a community that is beyond just like, you know, your own community and your own friends, but something larger at that. So that's what keeps me going.
That's a lot of stuff that keeps you going.
Thank you, Amber. No, it is. I think a lot about it because I'm like, I don't know. I think we had a very interesting journey, and you know, I don't think we have had the opportunity to share it. And I mean, there's probably people out there that also might like take interest in that, or might
Yeah.
need to hear something that, you know, we learned, or like something we did that, you know, validates how they're feeling. And I think
Yeah.
that's what keeps going.
Yeah. And I think with that too, like there's a lot about our upbringing that we haven't shared too. And I think it's that like determining what we want to put out there. But I feel like if we have more people who, our audience that grows, and the people that we hopefully one day have as guests, like we have a lot more maybe that we could share that will, you know, resonate with some people a little bit more. You know, it seems like we've talked a lot about college and going through that, but it wasn't easy to get to that point. Like we face a lot of battles in our youth that, you know, luckily we had a really strong mom through that all, but you know, it wasn't something that was done easily. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's part of why I like what keeps me going is like I have a story to tell, and I think that that's what I've always been here for. And this is just some self reflection, but I feel that I've always been a pretty good storyteller, still improving. But again, I think that I was gifted with the ability to tell stories and also given a pretty nice story myself. So I keep that in my mind. But a lot of it also is that I'm really interested in other people's. I think I
Mm-hmm.
have that desire for human connection and that desire to learn about other people. Um, and I think part of that comes from coming from a like a Native American background, but I've always been into all types of cultures. Like, you know, I learned Spanish all my life and stuff like that. So I've been very interested in the way that people are raised and brought up and growing up,
Yeah.
hence the name. And also, what keeps me going is I have some really cool people in my life that I would like to show off, you know, and show to people and hopefully meet more people like them as my
Yeah.
life goes on. So,
Yeah. I also think I also think during that beginning point when we were talking about the name for the podcast, we had brought up the like idea of like we kept saying like, oh, we wish we had learned this when we were, or like, you know, I wish somebody had taught us this. I wish we learned this, you know, or like I learned this. Good thing for you to know. And I feel like that was something also that kind of tied us together, because we were always like, you know, preparing each other for one thing or another. And even now, there's like things where Amber's like, hey, heads up, you should probably know this. Or guess what I learned? Um, and that was just something that was always super common in our conversations. And I think that's always, I would love to learn more also from other people. Like I'm a learner. I love to learn. And I think this is a perfect outlet for, you know, being able to
yeah.
learn from other individuals and tell me something that I need to know for my future. So I am not, I don't know, stuck on the side of the road with no batteries or something.
Clearly, she hasn't been stuck on the side of the road.
Clearly. And I want somebody to tell me that, you know, like I want somebody to be like, Nevaeh, you should probably keep a battery or something.
Yeah. I mean, maybe a tire blowout would be more reasonable than a battery, but
Sorry, I know I was just kind of making something up, but you get the idea. You get the ideas. You know,
no, yeah.
I need somebody to tell me the things that I wouldn't like learn without being told it. Because
Yeah.
there's so much things to learn in the world. We can't be the knower of all things, but we can come pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah.
A wise man said.
A wise man said that a wise man is not wise at all. That's my favorite quote.
I think that was actually the quote when we first started the podcast,
Yeah.
no?
Yeah. Plato, Socrates.
Literally, we have that on our first episode planning, episode 0.
Yeah.
And we had that right at the bottom of it.
Yeah, that's my favorite quote in life. Because that just means that we're never going to know it all. And I think that's the great thing about life, is that you'll never hit 100% of being wise, because no one is, and there's always something else to learn. And I think that's cool. But yeah, I mean, the whole point of this episode was really just to kind of talk about our small but big win. And I think it was a huge point for us just to kind of see, especially literally just this morning, we were looking at analytics and saw that impression clicks was above 7,000. And I kid you not, like 2 weeks ago, it was only at 1,000. So like, not exactly sure what that means, but we improved. By
the numbers went
points.
up, so the arrow is pointing upwards, which means we are doing good. We're only going up.
Yeah. And no, but that's like a big win, and I thought it was
we also
exciting.
hit 50 subscribers on YouTube, which also not a big number, but it's bigger than what we had a year ago. So
exactly,
that's 50 people that are interested in us, which is like, I don't know, give me a reference for that number.
Yeah, if you put 50 people in this room right now, it'd be pretty packed.
That was a good one, Amber. That was better than mine. I was gonna say that's like what you can fit in a lecture hall.
Oh my god. Yeah. So big wins, small but big wins. There you go. That's the episode name today. Small but big wins. Also, I would say, like, if you want to do something like this, like, just do it. Like, just start it up. Like, I'll be your first subscriber.
I was gonna say, I will be your first subscriber.
Put a camera in front of your face and just do it.
Yeah, because who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, and people are going viral all the time. Even people who no judgment, but even some people who I don't think should be viral, like they go viral.
Yeah, it gives me more things to scroll through. Doom scroll. Have you ever heard of that? Doom scrolling?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Just checking, because Amber has been a little out of tune with her lingo these days. So just want to make sure she was on board with that. But I think that's all we got for today's episode, right? I think.
Yeah, that's all we got.
That's all we got. We hope it was interesting. Hopefully give you a little bit of insight to the behind the scenes and our thoughts and emotions towards the podcast. And if, again, we always are open to, recommendations, tips, tricks, educate us on something. Like I said, we all love to learn in this area here. So, comment down below, subscribe to our YouTube channel, push the notification bell to be notified when we drop videos. But I guess we can say we will be trying for Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. What is that, your time?
7 a.m. Mountain Time.
Whew. Right when you're on your way to work.
6 a.m.
Mountain
6 a.m. Arizona.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And then also, if you're on the go at 7 a.m. and you're ready to go to work, you can plug us into your, what is that called? Aux cord. And I mean, maybe not this past Tuesday, but next Tuesday, you can plug us into your aux cord and listen to our episode as we head on. As you head on into work through Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and follow us on Instagram for any latest updates or technical difficulties.
Okay. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.